At this point, Abraham, filled with incredulity at the success of his boldness, decides to extract data from the apparent functional entity that he has known as deity. He proceeds to further probe the entity, detecting its boundaries and determining the breadth of its morality, measuring point for point this God's decency against his own. He counts his God down from 50 righteous men to 10. Perhaps there shall lack 5 of the 50 righteous. Will you destroy the whole city for lack of 5? And he said to him, said, let not the Lord be angry, find there, and I will 45, speak. I will perhaps not there shall it. 30 be found there. And he said, I will not do it. And he said, 30. Oh, let not the Lord be angry, and I will speak yet but this once. Possibly 10 shall be found there. And he said, I will not destroy it for 10's sake. And the Lord went his way as soon as he had left talking with Abraham, and Abraham returned to his place. The divine conversation is extraordinary because of what it tells us about the true nature of the entity that Abraham perceives as his God. Abraham challenges the omniscient, vengeful God and bargains for lives. In challenging this God, Abraham challenges himself and discovers himself superior, but does not dare say so. Instead, he calls himself dust. I wonder if Abraham is to surmise that his God believes the lives of 10 righteous men expendable. It is interesting that Abraham goes no further in his bargaining, perhaps taking his God down to 5, then 1 man. Is this because Abraham has discovered his own level of morality, his willingness to sacrifice 10 men? Is the functional entity that he calls God only an aspect of his own personality which he bargains with? Psychologist Lawrence Lashan calls spirits functional entities and summarizes their characteristics. They exist only when being thought of, only when being used, only for a particular purpose. They have no length, breadth, or thickness. They have no parts. They function consistently and with unwavering stubbornness according to the way they were conceptualized. You cannot change their definition or its implications at will. They can violate the laws of the sensory reality with impunity if they are organized that way. They affect our behavior. No instrument or conceivable instrument can register a functional entity. It can, however, pick up the sign or symbol we use for a functional entity. Asking what a functional entity is gets us nowhere. You can ask what it enables you to do. Lashan contrasts functional entities with structural ones, saying structural entities exist continuously, whether someone is utilizing or observing them or not. Now, I take issue with his assertion that an object can exist without anyone knowing it. Nevertheless, both entities are real, but exist in very different ways. The square root of -1 is a functional entity. No number multiplied by itself produces -1. It doesn't exist. It is a spirit, yet it is used widely in engineering. Who knew that those nights my own father punched away at his Texas Instruments calculator that he was dabbling in the spirit world, perhaps bargaining with his own God? You can't ask what a functional entity is. You can ask what it enables you to do. Abraham's God allowed him to survive in a harsh environment and enabled him to prosper, amassing land and goods. His God was useful in finding water or wife, a tool that he could barely make sense of. Yet, like the square root of -1, that he could scarcely live without. His God was a sprite that appeared magically at moral crossroads. This God was a concept and organization of Abraham's own beliefs that took on humanoid characteristics, a trick of the powerful psyche. I propose a new beginning to Genesis. In the beginning, man created God in his own image from the dust and challenged his God to rise to his own morality.